Hey there, friends. Today we're talking about cycles and, in particularly, one really important cycle. So, as females, we have cycles, right? We generally have like a 28-day cycle. And we also have seasons. We have seasons to our lives, not only like winter, spring, and summer and fall, but the seasons of our lives, right? We're moving from one season to another, the season of maybe being young and in love, and then you have the season of raising a family, and then you have the season of having grandchildren, and you have the season of travel, and we walk through different seasons. There's a rhythm to us, and there's an internal kind of movement or wave. And just like those internal seasons that we have, the universe also has those seasons. And in a couple of days, February 26th, we are moving into a cosmic season that many people have a tendency to fear. What is that season? That is Mercury retrograde. And oftentimes there's so many things that people worry about around Mercury retrograde that they get into fear. But this Mercury retrograde is different. This retrograde is in Pisces, and because it's in Pisces, it is going to be a bit more gentle and also a bit more emotional. So I know when you think about Mercury retrograde, if you're new to it and you've never heard it before, then this is going to be all new for you. And sit down and enjoy. If you have heard of it, a lot of times people get into the fear like, oh man, technology, here we go. It's going to break down. We're going to have, messy travel, airports, all the things. And yes, Mercury does affect communication and technology and contracts and agreements. And so, yeah, we want to pay attention to those things, and I'll dive more into that as we move forward. But I also want to invite you into seeing this in a different way, because Mercury retrograde isn't a curse. It's actually creating a call inward. And I think that because we're cyclical beings and we're not machines that are meant to go 24/7, 365, we forget that. And the universe has created different seasons where we're meant to slow down, reevaluate, recreate, relook. And Mercury retrograde is one of those seasons. It's time for review, reflection, and that reevaluation. And because retrograde is happening in the sign of Pisces, which is the energy of like the mystical, magical dreamer, the soul, the emotion, this isn't going to be so much. We want to be mindful, but not so much about your computer crashing as it is about your heart opening, as it is about your expansion in relationships. And it's about the healing in the areas that maybe you thought were done, or maybe that you buried so deep in the basement of your subconscious that you figured you'd never have to look at them again. So if you've been feeling emotional, if you've been thinking about the past, and if you've been feeling more tired and exhausted, that energy, it's coming right in. And you are right where you need to be, because you're entering this energetic season of movement, and specifically water, because it's Pisces this time. And so today we're going to talk about how to move through it without drowning in it, and how to use this time really specifically to heal your relationships, whether that is relationships with people from the past, or maybe it's a relationship with yourself. Welcome, my friend.
Self-service, that's the way. Welcome to Soul Talk, shine today.
Welcome to Soul Talk, where soul meets real life, where our spirit connects with our human experience. I'm Sunny Dawn Johnston. I'm so happy to have you with us today. This is a space where we learn to walk this human experience with awareness and presence and heart, and where we really talk about the real things in life and the spiritual things and how they can actually show up in our everyday life. So today we're diving into Mercury retrograde, and let's dive in. So, what is Mercury retrograde? Well, it is right now the season of water. So, as we look at this season, February 26th is when Mercury is the planet of communication and thought and perception, and it will go retrograde in Pisces until March 20th, which is the equinox. And so when we're talking about this, I just want you to know I'm not an astrologer. I'm not an expert in this field, but I've been in this field of study for 40 years. And, I wrote a workbook on Mercury retrograde. And so, absolutely, it is something that I think is important to be aware of, just the energy that may be showing up and coming up, not to be afraid of, to be aware of. So, the energy of Mercury is really focused on logic and information and facts and details and lists. Might sound like some of you. I know I like those things. But the Pisces energy is water. And so Pisces is connected with the energy of the ocean, and that energy it's intuitive and it's emotional and it's free. And so when Mercury moves through Pisces, and that Mercury is in retrograde, that logical part of us, it's going to start to soften, and our intuition and our intuitive abilities are going to start to take more presence. And if you've been watching these podcasts, if you are familiar with some of my work, you know that this is an area that I talk a lot about, especially lately, although I've been teaching intuitive development for 25 years, is we have to get more tapped in and tuned in to our intuitive abilities. And I think that that's uh, where people get uncomfortable, is we live in this world that will reward knowledge and information and productivity and clarity. During this particular Mercury retrograde, it's going to reward feeling. So during these next 3 weeks or so, the veil between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is going to get thinner, actually, probably pretty thin. So you may start to have more intense dreams. You may start to have even more vivid dreams. You may start to feel more nostalgic, may have more emotion, cry more. Uh, People that have been in your past may just kind of pop into your consciousness. People that you haven't spoken to in years are just going to show up or reach out in some way. And none of that is random. It's really the kind of the return so that we can clear and heal, because Mercury retrograde is really known for bringing things back in. So, ex lovers, ex partners, old friends, um, old thoughts and memories and patterns. And because this particular one is in Pisces, it's also going to bring back the feelings that are connected to those circumstances and those situations. And I think for a lot of people, that can feel um, overwhelming, because there are so many of us that when we start diving into some of those old relationships and those uh, old patterns and experiences, um, it triggers that part of us that maybe just barely made it through it, right? Like we just barely survived it. Um, and then there's others where, we've done the things, we've had the kids and we've raised the kids and we built the businesses and we walked through the health issues and we handled the circumstances, the situations, the crises, and we're like, okay, yeah, I got through it and good. And I'll just deal with it later. Yeah. Well, guess what? Mercury retrograde brings later now. That's what Mercury retrograde does. And that doesn't matter what season you're in, because wherever Mercury retrograde starts, it's starting in the energy of Pisces. So if you are someone who's listening to this or watching this months later, then Mercury retrograde may not be in Pisces. It'll be in a different sign. But there's standards around Mercury retrograde, which we're going to dive into as well, so that you have some insight and some awareness on things to just be mindful of. All right. And you've all lived through lots of Mercury retrogrades. We have 3 or 4 of them a year. And when we talk about retrograde, what that means is that Mercury seems to be going backwards. It's actually not, but it seems to be. And so, because of that, it's like we go back into old experiences, old stories, old relationships. Why? To heal. And that's important to heal, to reevaluate, to recreate, and to redo some of the um, uh, past, to clear it out and to release it. And so it's necessary, and it can be hard and it can be challenging, and it's very beneficial if you're willing to do the work. So there was a time, this was probably, I don't know, maybe it might have been during the pandemic, because it was a retrograde period. I remember that because I've created a Mercury retrograde PDF that I'm actually going to share with you guys in the notes, that you can go and grab for free if you want. And I remember when I was creating that, I was thinking about um, a time that I remembered where I was in my closet, and in my closet I have a bunch of old photo albums. So 2020 was a time where, right, we had just, the pandemic had just started. There was a lot of challenge and struggle and chaos going on. But I was feeling pretty good. I've been in business for 20 years. Life was good. There'd been a lot of actually healing in my own family. And so when I saw this photo album, I just started looking at it. I wasn't going looking for it. It just happened to be there. And you know how sometimes the thing has been sitting there for forever, but it just jumps out at you to open it up. Yep, that's what happened to me. And so as I opened it up, I started looking at some of the pictures, and the the pictures were, the specific picture that kind of mm, created awareness, activated me a little bit, was a picture of me pregnant as a teenager. And what I noticed is that, in the photo that I was looking at, I had a smile on my face. I was about 6 months pregnant at a wedding, and I I was smiling, but I knew and I could see the pain and the fear in that girl's eyes. I could see the insecurity. I could see the, like, fear of the unknown, and I I just felt so much compassion and sadness um for that little girl, because I never felt like the little girl, even when I was the little girl, and I was 18 years old. And it just brought up emotion in me. Uh, it I think I felt the emotion that that little girl felt, but she never allowed herself to feel it. And as I sat there thinking and feeling into what that little girl's life was going to become, I shortly thereafter became a mother, something I never planned to do. And my as I was feeling that emotion, I don't have a tendency to have a lot of emotion. I'm a very sensitive person, but I'm like not a big crier. And for sure, those tears just came up, and my head was like, "Well, come on, Sonny, you know it. This isn't new, right? You've lived this way, you've had this experience. Gosh, your kid is 30 years old now." But there was still that emotion that got activated, right? And I think my head kind of got into, okay, come on, let's get back to work, get over it. You've already walked through this. You don't need to, don't need to spend any time here. You don't need to do this again. But that's actually why it showed up. And so I just want you to think about that and recognize that in these next few weeks, if something shows up and you're like, wow, where's this coming from? Because especially in that Pisces energy, it's going to be emotion. And at that time, I think my soul knew better than my mind. I think that's common. That's most of the time my soul knows better than my mind. Maybe you guys can relate to that. Um, but my spirit knew that even though I understood the pain and I understood it intellectually, that I still had more of that emotion to release from my cellular memory. And I have that has that's part of my nature. I have a tendency to understand it intellectually. It makes sense. And so I'm like, okay, yep, click, done. And oftentimes uh, I will forget or unintentionally bypass the emotions. So you can't skip that step. Just telling you, friends, if you're like me and that feels like the best to skip that step, don't skip that step. And I'm curious, are any of you like me in that way? If you are, let's hear it. So what I had to do is I had to surrender to that season of feeling. And quite honestly, I didn't, I did, I brought the emotion up and I felt it and I sat there and I cried, but I didn't really sit in it probably long enough. I didn't let the water kind of take me and let it flow. Um, and more showed up. So if you step into it and you let this season of the Mercury retrograde help move that energy out, then I think you'll feel lighter and you'll feel clearer and you'll feel more centered and grounded in the energy of who you are and where you are now, and not get stuck in the kind of trying to push it down, and instead allow it to come up. Um, And so those are some of the ways, right, that Mercury retrograde can be working for us, even if it feels a little icky and uncomfortable while we're walking it. So I think what that shows us is just there's always more happening than what we consciously recognize, right? And it's important for us to pull ourselves into presence and to slow down long enough to be aware of it and to begin to um, ask ourselves and understand ourselves like in a deeper way. And so let's go a little bit deeper. When I think about Mercury retrograde, one of the things I think about is it really applies a lot to relationships because with the Pisces energy, it kind of will start to blur some of the boundaries. And so during retrograde, what happens a lot, and I hear this a lot from my clients, is like, oh my gosh, this person just popped up. I haven't heard from them for 25 years and they all of a sudden just showed up. Or I just got a text from my ex. I haven't heard from him for 3 years and he just all of a sudden messaged me. Or I got an email from an old friend or an old work colleague. And so what happens a lot of times is that activates that unresolved pain and we're like, why are they calling me, or they did this, and things that are unhealed. And what I want to suggest is, if and or when that happens, because in retrograde it happens often, um just stop and pause and don't react, and instead ask yourself, okay, why might this be showing up right now? Why is it coming up now, of all times? Because it's not. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, maybe this person's coming in because we're supposed to reconnect and maybe rekindle an old romance or something like that." And sometimes that could be true. But I think it's more around, especially in retrograde periods, it's more around resolution. I think that when we look at Mercury retrograde, it's a time and a season where we do a lot of words, right? So it's review and release and reconnect and repair, and there's so many re's. And retrograde is a great time for repair. And also, oftentimes what I have seen in the past is that so many clients, they go, okay, well, now maybe it's different. And it almost blurs the the past. That Pisces energy is kind of can carry a little bit of the energy of like illusion. So seeing things differently than what they are. And so sometimes you can kind of romanticize the past so that it looks like it was one way and it wasn't, but you want to see it that way. And so we confuse the idea of what we would have liked it to be with our intuition. And it's important to create that discernment. Just because an old connection is coming up does not mean that you have to reconnect. It doesn't mean that you even need to, um, it means more that you need to reevaluate and maybe release. So if someone returns back into your life, um, I think a common question is, what do they want? And maybe it's an opportunity to shift out of what do they want to what do I feel? And then have a conversation if it feels clean and if it feels clear. And if it doesn't, then let it go, release. If it feels heavy, if it feels dense, then that could be exactly why it's showing up, to just have that release. And I think it's important to remember that you can have boundaries and still be gentle and still be loving. It doesn't always feel like those two go together or those three go together, but they can. Um, and so you can have those at the same time. And always remember that the most important relationship that you have, and the one that you are in constant repair of, is the one with yourself. So maybe in retrograde, the energy is asking you to forgive the version of yourself who was in that circumstance, who was in that situation. Maybe it's asking you to release the idea of what you thought it could be. Maybe it's inviting you to forgive the version that didn't know what you know now, because you have greater awareness and greater insight, and to be gentle with yourself, to be kind to yourself, and know that in that in that situation and in that circumstance, you did the best you could with what you had. And so as we step into this new season of retrograde, then one of the questions is, what do we do? Right? What do we do with this energy? How do we live in this energy, and how do we apply it to real life? So here are a few ways that you can apply it to real life, um, specifically for this Pisces energy. And I'm also going to give you some tools, and some of those are in the workbook that you guys can download if you want. That'll be in the description. That will just help you in general with any Mercury retrograde, not specifically to Pisces, but specific to Pisces. The first one is, if you get an email or a text or a message and you get activated, or it's from somebody that you're like, I don't know, before you respond, before you hit send, read it 2 or 3 times, and um and maybe just give yourself some space, because that Pisces energy is emotional. You might react from an emotional state. Give yourself that space between the feeling that you're having and then the response that you're experiencing. Okay. Because Mercury can be a little bit tricky in these. And so I don't want you to just have that, oh, hey, yeah, and screw you too. Right. Or delete, or, just fire back, keyboard warrior kind of energy. I want you to just pause. You willing to do that with me? Just pause. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, connect with water, specifically for the Pisces retrograde. Get in the water, like literally get in the water, because Pisces is a water sign, and water conducts energy. So if you feel heavy, if you feel like the weight of the world is on you, and you're taking that energy, get into a salt bath. Go sit by a lake or a swimming pool. Get in a shower and just visualize the heaviness, the density, the fear, the worries, literally washing away. Water moves emotion, and water represents emotion. So you can use water to help to support you. Number three is record your dreams. Really pay attention. You might be having some very active dreams. Man, have I been having active dreams the last couple of days. And I do think that's part of the energy that's coming in with the retrograde, because it's usually the shadow sides are usually about 4 to 7 days or so. So record your dreams, because the spirit world is louder during retrograde. Your guides are going to be talking to you. You may be feeling some messages from your loved ones in spirit, and they will do that more often when your logical mind is asleep, so that you don't get in the way. So keep a notebook by the bed. I have a little notebook that I keep by the bed with a pen. My phone also is by the bed, but I try not to turn that on if I wake up in the middle of the night. But I have to write it down immediately, or as soon as a lot of times, as soon as your body raises, it's gone. So even if it doesn't make any sense, just write it down. Um, and 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 then you may want to break down the symbolism afterwards, uh, and just see where it takes you. Right? I had a crazy dream the other night, and of course I don't remember it right now, but I did write it down. And as I kind of broke it down and started looking at the symbolism of it, it was really evident to me. And really, the dreams, I had two of them back to back. Neither one of them made sense on their own, but when I really just kind of sat with the symbolism of it was very relevant to where my energy has been, and the shifts that have been taking place, and the challenges, as I have released my personal brand and stepped into the school of light. And so there's symbols there, friends. So look into those. Number four is music. Music during retrograde is medicine. And with Pisces energy, it's more, it's even more important. Pisces rules music and frequency. So maybe you're having feelings, you don't really know how to address them or how to talk about them or move them, but then play some music that matches the feeling and the message and the mood that you're in to get that energy out. Let that music move the energy through your body so it doesn't get stuck like the issues and the tissues. Right? That's really important. And actually, what I was thinking is because I love music, I'm guessing you love music. Let's play a great song, right? So there's a great song that is the theme song to Soul Talk that I'm going to play. And we're going to watch the video and play that and get this energy of music and bring in the energy of empowerment as we step into that retrograde. So let's listen to this song together. And you can watch the video as well if you are watching.
25 years on this road, rewriting every story I'm told. Love from the inside out, that's what it's all about. So self-service, hear the call. Rise into the truth of it all. This is Soul Talk. Feel the light where your soul ignites. No more hiding who you are. Time to shine. You're born a star. Inspire, light the way, impact your inner fire. That's a fact. This is Soul Talk. Time to rise. Step into your power. No disguise. Walk through shadows, found my voice. Now I'm here to make the choice. Real and raw, that's how we heal. Heart-based living, this is real. Soul self-service, feel the flame. Step into your power, stake your claim. This is Soul Talk. Feel the light where your soul ignites. No more hiding who you are. Time to shine. You're born to star. Inspire, light the way, impact your inner fire. That's a fact. This is Soul Talk. Time to rise. Step into your power. No disguise. Light leaders rise up strong. This is where you belong. From the inside, watch it grow. Let your brilliance overflow. World needs your light right now. Plant your roots and claim your ground. This is Soul Talk. We rise as one. Soul alignment's just begun. No more playing small or safe. Step into your sacred space. Inspire, light the way, impact. Live in truth, that's where it's at. This is Soul Talk, here we stand. Light leaders hand in hand. Light leaders hand in hand. So self-service, that's the way. Welcome to Soul Talk. Shine today.
All right. Bringing in that music, friends. Remember to bring in that music and move that energy that might be getting stuck out. All right. The next one, number 5, is surrender to what is. Like, let go of the schedule. Know that people are going to be late. Things are going to be late. Tech is probably going to get a little glitched. But instead of looking at it as, oh my God, and trying to hold on and control, getting into the energy of trust, like just slowing down and going, okay, it's just going to be what it is. I know that's not easy. I know. Number 6, probably my least favorite, is rest. Rest. Allow yourself to rest. Rest is hard for me, so it might be a great one for you guys. Rest is hard for me, but it is the reminder that right now in this season, it's still winter, and we're in the season that's still meant to be a slower pace. We're building up. We got that fire horse energy, so we are building up, but it is meant to be a slower season. And so allow yourself to just slow down. Now, I really want to take a moment and say, hey, okay, so there's all those things you can do. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things for traditional Mercury retrograde just to be aware of. And then again, you can go into the description and grab the free download for the Mercury retrograde PDF. It's like, I don't know, 10, 12 pages that really goes into detail around Mercury retrograde. So we're going to put the link down here and you can go there and you can grab it. Or you can get it out of the description right in the description of the video, so that you can grab it there. You're going to need a code, so you'll probably need to get it there. But there's some great tips and tools and ways to help process some of this energy that you might be feeling. But if you are somebody that's listening right now and you're like, all right, yep, I'll hold off. I won't text right back. I won't respond. I'm going to take some breaths. I'm going to allow myself to feel my emotions. Are you with me? Like, are you in? If you're in, like in the comments, just say, yep, I'm in. I'm going to work on that. I'm curious to see who's with me. All right. All right, friends, before we move into our heart to heart segment, which is coming up, I want to take a moment to invite you to something that is happening tonight. So tonight, I am offering a complimentary live webinar. It's called Unlock Your Gifts, a grounded and repeatable path to deepen your intuition and create real life impact. And you can join us for free tonight. And in this class, I'm going to teach you how to work with your intuition and how to tell the difference between the fear and the guidance you're receiving. I know a lot of you are sensitive and you struggle with that sensitivity. So how you tend to feel overwhelmed and why you feel overwhelmed and what you can do about it. And then how to strengthen your gifts in a way that is sustainable, that is grounded. Because I know for a lot of us, we tend to be in it. This is not a negative term, but in the airy fairy, which is super great. But then we've got real life to deal with. That's why Soul Talk is where spirit meets real life, because we need to do it in a grounded way where we actually are embodied and present and connected at the same time. So if those are topics that are interesting to you, I want to invite you to come and join the webinar. We'll throw the link right here below. And you can also, you can just go register right there, schooloflight.biz/webinar. And if you can't attend live, then you can go ahead and register anyway, and you'll get a link for the replay. If you can find that link also in the description. And if you're wanting that, that ongoing support, you can always come and connect with our School of Light community as well, because we keep these conversations and the teaching right there in the community. So you can join through that same link below that you just saw, and I'd love to see you in there. All right, so heart to heart. So we're going to move on to one of my favorite parts of our time together, and that is our heart-to-heart segment. So this is where we bring real conversation into this podcast, and we're bringing this into real life. So it's your questions, your challenges, your experiences where you're needing some support or some guidance. You can always send in your question in advance, and I do have a couple of questions that have come in. And you can also go to schooloflight.biz/heart-to-heart with Sunny, and you can put your question in early. If you're listening now, then you can go ahead and put your question in the comments, and we will answer your question in just a moment after our little shift in energy.
I'm too hard with Sunday. Hear your voice is heard. Some talk conversation.
All right. So Heart to Heart with Sunny, friends, one of my favorite times. I love to help support you in answering your questions. If you don't know, I am a psychic medium and a spiritual teacher, and I've been doing private sessions and readings professionally. This is my 26th year, but all my life, really, because that's how it works. And I know some of you know how that works. So I'm going to open it up to any questions that you have. If you are in the chat and you want to ask a question, you can go ahead and ask your question in the chat. I have a couple questions that have come in, so I'm going to answer these couple first, and then we will dive into the questions that are coming in live as well. So go ahead and throw your questions in there, guys. All right. So first question was, Sunny, I feel like I'm absorbing everyone's emotions. I walk into a store, I talk to a friend, and I end up leaving angry or sad for no reason. What can I do? All right. So, first off, you aren't angry or sad for no reason. You're sensitive, and you likely have, there's probably a few reasons why you're feeling this way, and a few things that you can become aware of and that you can do uh, to shift. The first thing is I want to talk about for sure learning how to maintain your energy. It is so important to maintain our own energy. And especially during retrograde coming up, it is critical to maintain energy. Now, I am going to give you a few tips right at the end of the session to help you with that retrograde time frame. But one of the biggest tips that I will tell you, if you're noticing that you're picking up energy, is absolutely recognizing that I need to maintain my energy better. So there's some tools that you can do that, because if you're in that state, you're probably like a sponge and you're soaking it all up. And that um the energetics, it's so hard not to, unless you're using your tools. So for me, I call on Archangel Michael every morning to help me to maintain my energy. One of the things that you can do is just kind of ask yourself, okay, is this mine? Is this my energy? And I bet probably 80-90% of the time, it's not your energy. So when you feel that shift, you feel like you walked into the room or you talk to the friend and all of a sudden, then it's important right then to ask yourself, okay, is this mine? And just that question acknowledges, it's almost like it releases that energy from your system, but you have to be consistent in doing it. The other thing you can do is just visualize yourself. You're feeling that energy, is visualize yourself with a blue bubble around you. So blue is the energy of maintenance, of maintaining energy, of protection, of strength, and of courage. So it helps you to hold your own energy, hold your boundaries. So visualizing that blue light around you often will help you to hold your vibration stronger. But I would suggest that you start working with Archangel Michael, because I'm an angel girl, uh, every day before you feel the energy of other people. Because after you felt it, now it's yours, and now you're going to have to transmute it and shift it, release it, all the things. But on the front end, if you do it on the front end, then oftentimes it helps you so that you don't take on the energy immediately. All right, so at that time, and I think it's important to say that you can um, you can be kind and you can be compassionate and you can be generous and all those things, and not be a dumping ground for other people's emotions. That's not your responsibility. It's not your job. Okay. All right. The other question that came in was, I feel so unmotivated. I usually run my business going 100 miles an hour, and I just want a nap. I feel guilty. What do I do? All right. So first off, let's let go of the guilt. Like that's not going to serve anybody. It's not going to serve anything. You're not doing anything wrong. You're probably just doing it differently than you've done uh, in the past. Okay. So let's drop the guilt. You're in a season, and remember this, we're still in a winter season. So even though the calendar changed, Um, it's not yet shifted into that new energy, that fire horse energy. It's still winter. And so during that time, during that season, which is how we started this whole podcast, it isn't about hustle. It's about allowing yourself to listen to your needs and listen to your body. And what I'll tell you is if you fight that need to rest, you will get sick. The universe will lay you down if you don't lay yourself down. And I don't mean that to be like a threat or negative or fear based in any way, but I think it's important to recognize, and I think enough, don't you know, like I think we know this, right? If we don't take care of ourselves and the universe is kind of like, all right, here we go, right? So it's important to trust that the work will be there and that you will have the motivation. And if you're not having the motivation, it isn't that you can just stop everything. You can't. We still have lives and we need to function. And I understand that. But that motivation will come back when your energy is back. And right now might be a time where your job is to get intentional and to dream a bigger dream, right? That absolutely could be it. All right, let me go to a couple of the questions that are um, in the chat. I'm noticing in my life and others around me a strong theme of challenges in relationships. Have you been noticing this? And is there any insight or guidance to help navigate through this energy? Absolutely. I think that relationships, number one, relationships are the place that we learn the most about ourselves. And the closer the relationship, the more it will reflect the things that you need to see in yourself, good, bad, and otherwise. So the great stuff, the not so great stuff, and everything in between. And so our relationships are really our greatest teachers. And what is happening for a lot of people is either it's time to grow or it's time to go. And you have to start to discern that because without growth, you will be in that kind of disconnected energy. So, and it doesn't mean both people grow at the same time. Sometimes one person grows and then the other person has to choose to step up or not. And then we have other choices to make. But in the growth process, it really is that the people around you in these relationships are reflecting the parts of you that likely you are not looking at yourself or not willing to look at, not wanting to look at, uncomfortable to look at, that need change. And vice versa. It's not ever just one person. In a relationship, there's two people, and there's two people that are there to help each other see things that they are not seeing. So it's never just, oh my God, this person over here has to change. It doesn't work that way. Feels that way sometimes, but that's not the case. So when we're looking at this, especially in this retrograde time, it's really a time to do some deep healing work and look very um, openly and authentically at yourself, at your patterns, at your willingness to do things different or not. Um, First and foremost, looking at you. Then, of course, we dive into the relationship aspects. But during this retrograde period, it's such a great time to start doing the deep dives into the healing that you desire, that your partner desires, that your marriage desires. Or your relationship if you're not married, and 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 make a conscious choice on what you want to do. Do we want to work on it or do we not? The reality of it is, what I find is if you don't do the work in the relationship, you'll attract another person with a different face, but similar frequency that will activate the same aspects of you until you're willing to look at those. Because that's the whole point of that's what the challenge is in the first place, is to see the parts of us. It's like looking in a mirror. And when you look in the mirror, you're likely very critical of certain parts of you, but there's other parts of you can't see. And so our relationships are the ones that actually can see the parts that we either haven't seen or weren't willing to see. And also vice versa, you for your partner as well. So deep, open, authentic healing work is necessary. And one of the best times do it actually is in retrograde. It's one of the best areas to put attention. Um, okay. This has been life-changing for me. Thank you, Sunny. You're very welcome, my friend. I'm glad it's brought you some awareness. All right, let's see if I have another question. Uh, I've chosen words for myself this year: foremost presence, strength, and courage. Beautiful. Yes, I do the word for the year every year. I love it. I always think it's great to have an energetic, like a theme for the year. So I think that's a great tool to use for ourselves. All right, friends. So if you're wanting more information about the retrograde period, you can certainly check that description in that has the information for the download. You'll just need to use a code, and then you'll be able to download the Mercury Retrograde PDF. You'll learn a lot more about retrograde. But one of the things I do want to do, and I want to share, we've got the link below right there: schooloflight.biz/Mercury. But what I do want to share is just a few of the other retrograde tips that you may want to be aware of. So these are typical retrograde challenges that I don't want you to have fear around. Like, I'm not a fear monger. I really choose to recognize that things are what they are, and these are things that tend to people tend to experience during retrograde, so to be aware of. So I'm just going to give you a few of them. One of them is to back up electronics. Like, if you have any electronic things, a lot of times there's just some challenges with electronics during retrograde. So back up any of the stuff that you have if you don't have it already, going to a cloud or something like that. The other thing is, pay attention with the past. Be a witness. Don't allow yourself to get so activated, and learn from other people. Remember that you can just readjust, reevaluate. Maybe it's reconnect, maybe it's release. But those re's, it's all about the re's during Mercury retrograde. One of the other ones: don't take things personal. This is not a time to take things personal. This is really more of a time to really have awareness of where people are, what they're experiencing, not to internalize it. Communication is one of the greatest challenges in Mercury retrograde. That could be technology, as far as like emails, texts, things like that. It can just be verbal communication. So being really mindful, because Mercury does rule all the types of communication, being very mindful around your words, and what you are expressing, whether you're writing it, whether you're speaking it, whether you're reading it, whether you're posting social media. Just being very, very mindful of the words and what you are communicating through your words. If you're sending important emails, read and then reread them. If you are signing contracts, reread them, etc. Uh, Allow your schedule to be open and flexible, because things that affect travel, Mercury affects travel. So there could be some changes there. Um, don't sweat the small stuff. And it's all small stuff. That's the little quote, right? It doesn't feel like small stuff, but it's all small stuff. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just trust the process, I guess I would say. And the last one is breathe. Just breathe. Okay, this too shall pass. All right. So again, that guide, Mercury retrograde, what is it, and all the details. There's a lot of journaling aspects to it, so that you can kind of process through some of the things that may be coming up. So I hope that that's helpful for you. All right, friends. So as we come to a close today, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being present. I want to thank you for showing up and caring, and feeling those feelings, and allowing them to move through you, and being willing to show up and live with awareness. I will be here every Tuesday, same place, same time. So if you got value out of this, friends, please go and hit the subscribe button for me, like it, share it, let other people know if you think somebody else could benefit, especially during this upcoming retrograde, then please share it. And we appreciate you helping us get the word out. And I want to leave you with this reminder that when we allow our divinity to guide our humanity, that's when life becomes more intentional, more loving, and more aligned with who we truly are. I'm so grateful that you're here and that you're with me. Thank you so much, my friends. And I love you. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
So self-service, that's the way. Welcome to Soul Talk, shine today.